Before I start, I need to ask you a question. I said in the synopsis of this talk that there will be some reckless live hacks. So, does anyone in here oppose reckless live hacks? Please say so now. You oppose? No, he's just leaving. Okay, might be a good idea. Okay, in that case, great. Let's do this. That means that we're all in this together now. And I need a cable. Mini DVI, which I have in my bag. But I can talk while I fetch the cable. No.
Do we need an adapter?
I need a mini DisplayPort. But I'll just keep talking while I go search for one.
Is this the reckless part?
Huh. Check it out. So, my name is KalleZ. I have some fixation about talking on these conferences, SecT, so I think this is my 10th year as a visitor, but might be my 8th year as a lightning talker.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
We keep coming up with these reckless things, right?
Yeah. Oh shit. This is a bit bad. Actually, I'm sort of nervous of this talk. I'm not usually nervous when I'm talking, but there are so many things that can go wrong right now, or for so many different ways. So yeah. All right. So let's think positive. My name is KalleZ. I work at a company called Centaur. For the first time doing these talks, my employer has got nothing to do with this, so please don't blame them for what I say or do. I said I'd exploit non-vulnerability, something that is not vulnerable. And what is that? Well, the lamest shit that you could ever think of. Cross-site request forgery on a login prompt. For those of you who do not work with web application security, it's basically you could trick someone into login as you in their browser. So basically, fool them into clicking a link, and then they will become you at some stupid service. Why is this not a vulnerability? Well, as long as you use cookies for authentication, which almost everyone does, it's still possible to inject a cookie into the victim's browser, which will make them identify themselves as you on the service. But how do you inject cookies into people's browsers? Well, there are mainly two ways. Either you find a cross-site scripting vulnerability. Well, if you find a cross-site scripting on the vulnerability on the site, that's obviously much worse. But if you find a cross-site vulnerability on a subdomain to this site, then you could use that subdomain to set a cookie that's valid over the entire domain. You could also use means of network interception. So say that you fiddle around the traffic on the network and you inject into plain text traffic cookies, because it's possible to set cookies over plain text traffic, obviously, if you control someone. So, why would you want to do this? Why would you want someone to be logged in as you? Well, obviously, because I want to view your search history. This sketch, I think, says pretty much of it. I'd like to present my client's internet search history from that evening. And it says, I'd rather just confess to the murder. Which, for some people, actually is the same thing. So, can you actually do this? Can you inject cookies into people's browsers to track their search history? Well, let's start with our favorite search engine, Bing. Here's the search history. It's actually great because they have an anonymous search history. So that means that the searches are just tied to your cookie. I hope it's actually I'm online, maybe? Yeah. So it's not super trivial to inject cookies into Bing because Bing uses strict transport security, HTTP strict transport security, or HSTS, which means that they send a HTTP response header telling the browser to never visit this domain unencrypted, at least for this amount of time. And this includes all subdomains to Bing. which is kind of curious if you look at the URL right now, because I'm actually visiting Bing unencrypted. Because they only serve this header if you visit them over HTTPS. So that means that if you haven't visited them over HTTPS, you don't get this policy, and you can just keep on browsing them in plain text. And whether or not people do this, I don't know, because I've never met anyone who actually uses Bing. But so let's move on to Yahoo instead. Yahoo is interesting because they also have a strict transport security, so you can't really you can't really say that you're Yahoo or trick people into visiting Yahoo over a plain text link. But their strict transport security is actually restricted to this exact URL. So they don't include subdomains. That means that you could set up a site, something.yahoo.com, and you have someone visit that over plain text, and then you respond with a cookie that you set this needs to be valid over the entire Yahoo domain. And then all your cookies or your searches will get tied to this cookie. So finally, Google. Yeah, by the way, Yahoo is they're also using this anonymous search history, so you don't even need an account. You can just tie it to the cookie. Google, of course, more or less the inventors of strict transport security. You wouldn't think this, but they don't use strict transport security at all. And I suspect that there are reasons for that. Mainly because if you're trying to visit Google on your phone and you're in a captive portal, then you might want to be redirected to this page so that you could say OK, which won't work if you use STS. There's actually, with Google, you don't really need to inject this because they actually have a cross-site script, cross-site request forgery vulnerability in the login. So you could do that, but that's off topic because it's not the vulnerability, so it's nothing to think about. What's interesting about Google, since you need an account on Google, obviously people would be able to see, if you visit google.com, then well, it's not super obvious because I registered an account and I used their login button as a logo. It's way too small, but anyways, you can see that I'm logged in here right now. But it does not need to be this way. There are several interesting quirks. One of them is that when you log in, you actually get redirected to accounts.google.com. So that's where your login is. Then when you want to search, in Sweden, you get redirected to google.se. And that sort of transfers your login to the google.se site. So that means that even if I manage to trick someone into my Google account, they still can't go back and fiddle around with my account settings. They could just search in the context of my account. And even better, instead of just setting this cookie at google.se, I could set it on a specific path. So if I'll set it on the /search path, then the cookie won't get sent in this first request. Am I losing network? Maybe I am. Maybe something's dying here. OK, so then it will only be visible on this page. So the question you might be asking yourself right now is this really feasible? Is this attack feasible? And here's the part that I'm a bit nervous about, because when you said OK with the live hacking, I turned on this alpha access point and I started broadcasting a bunch of network names. One of them is SJ, which is popular if you go, like me, on a train a lot. Another other one is Norwegian Internet Access, which is popular if you go on Norwegian planes. Another one is GuestNet, which apparently is popular here today. Well, here are your MAC addresses. You're right now connected to my nice network. So if you try to browse around on that network, I have a virtual machine that I hope is connected. Yeah, it is connected. I think this is connected to, APT malware distribution net, which is another name that this uses. This could work right now. If I try to go to some site, I should be redirected a few times. But you see, I built my own web server in Python, and I'm not a good Python coder, so it's like it breaks down if I don't send the host header. So here's the part where I almost be surprised if this worked, but let's just keep trying. Like, could work. Just need to. Oh shit. I think actually my network card isn't really capable of serving traffic to all you guys. So, well, here's something up. No, that's one of you. Okay. I'm just shutting this down now and changing network name to something else so I can be alone in here. APT, what was it? APT malware distronet. Net. Okay. So, by the way, the ones of you who were connected to my access point, this probably won't work if your mobile is connected, but if you're, because I don't know what these guys do with the mobile phones, but if you're connected with your laptop, then try to search for something on Bing or Yahoo or Google. You might have my cookies, and if you do, they're only valid for 20 minutes. So after 20 minutes, you should be fine. For the next 20 minutes, remember that you're sharing these searches with everyone in here that's connected to the same network. Because we're all in this together, as I said to you before. But my network is not really with me. Oh, shit, there's a lot of people here. By the way, I mean, it's a good idea to remove open networks from your phone or device after you disconnected from them, or perhaps tell your device not to automatically connect to open wireless networks. Okay. Well, my web server is dead, my access point is dead, and like everything from layer 2 up to layer 7 could go wrong in this demo, so I'm not really surprised actually that this happened. So let's do the fallback. I'm just gonna connect this to the real internet and disconnect it from the malware distribution net and use this browser instead, which is a browser that I prepared earlier using this exact attack. So what would happen if I would have managed to connect if you hadn't crashed my access point because you're so promiscuous with your connection habits? You would have ended up, or I would have ended up on this page, which is the landing page. This access point will bounce you around first to some Yahoo server, and then to some Google server, and then to Bing. And each step it sets cookies back that ties you to the browsing. So let's try to search for something. Bing it, Maestern. Let's Bing that, and let's, woohoo, yeah, wahoo, and Google. Right, so I just did some searches in this injected browser. Let's go to have a look at what? This browser, which is the one living outside. So, if this works, this is my Yahoo search history. Woohoo, wahoo. This is my Bing search history. No, this is my Google search history. Well, where's my Bing? There is the Bing. Okay, so I got the searches. If you start searching, your searches will be on the screen as well. So come on, guys. The ones of you who connected, please do something crazy because, well, I'll keep this running for a few more minutes, but then it's really time for the party. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much for listening.